AWS SageMaker integration with RStudio.
Thank you, Michael. Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Pena. I'm a product manager in the AI platforms team here at AWS. And today we're going to see, I'm going to be introducing some of the advantages that you get when using RStudio on Amazon SageMaker. And then I will yield the floor for Farooq to take it away with a demo that will showcase those advantages. So first of all, the most straightforward advantages that you get using RStudio and SageMaker are effectively the fact that it's a managed service. You will essentially avoid the whole hazard of spinning up and maintaining your own RStudio Workbench server. And also the licensing process is streamlined. At the beginning of the process, you just need to select the EC2 instance that is going to be holding your RStudio Workbench server. You can also change it down the road if you need additional bandwidth. And you can acquire a new license through AWS Marketplace and pull it to a license manager, or import your own license and then spin up your existing domain, or do your new domain, or add RStudio to an existing SageMaker domain. From a developer or data scientist standpoint, you have that very familiar IDE interface that you normally would use in an RStudio Workbench on-prem. There's no learning curve there. You will actually have some enhancements in the sense that all your artifacts are being saved into Elastic File System, which is the file system in the AWS cloud, and so that you can have exclusive access from other tools in the Amazon SageMaker ecosystem, which is an advantage. But the most important pieces of having your environment for R analysis in the cloud is that you can create your own R sessions with the compute power that your analysis needs. And you can scale it up or down on the fly based on how your analysis evolves. And also, you can use Reticulate, the library, to access the SageMaker Python SDK. And have access to a wider feature set within the Amazon SageMaker Studio ecosystem, such as launching a training job or a data processing job from your RStudio session. Or, for instance, launching an automatic machine learning job within RStudio, which is, by the way, and this is my segue, the demo that Farooq is going to walk you through right now. So please, Farooq, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Hi, everyone. I am Farooq Sabir. I'm an AI ML Specialist Solutions Architect at AWS. So as Eric mentioned, that we have sessions in our studio. You can create with Elastic Compute over there. So I am going to give a demo briefly of RStudio on SageMaker, and then go through a very quick example of how to use R in RStudio on SageMaker to build an example of running an AutoML job for carrying out classification on a diabetes data set. Okay. So when you get into RStudio on SageMaker, so this is open in my Google Chrome browser. So you will see this new session here. I have already created these sessions. But once you get in here, you are going to click on this new session here. And this is going to provide you with a few options here. But most importantly, what you need to pick from here are these two things. The first one is the instance type. This is the compute that Eric was mentioning, that you can pick up several different types of machines on which to run your R session on, where you're going to do R coding, whether you're doing analytics or machine learning. There are different options here, and the documentation here, you can go on our website to see what the description of these instances are. Some are standard purpose, some have higher memory, some have GPUs, some have more CPUs, depending on what type of work you want to do in RStudio. You're going to pick that. And the other one is this image that you're going to pick. So this is the image that we provide right now, the version of R It comes with several pre-installed packages and libraries, but you can have your own custom image here as well if you want to control which version of R you want to use in RStudio on SageMaker, and also the additional library. So once you click start session, you will see a session appearing here. Then you click on that session and it's going to open your RStudio workbench that you are all familiar with. Okay, but this is actually running on SageMaker now with the compute that I showed earlier. So in this example here that I'm showing, this is for an HCLS use case where the data set is from University of California at Irvine, and we are running some experiments on it, an AutoML job on it using SageMaker Autopilot, which is a tool in SageMaker to carry out AutoML. So the goal of this problem is given some test results, giving some demographics of the patients, and the fact that they were admitted into hospital due to diabetes conditions, whether the patient is going to be admitted again in the hospital or not for that condition. So to predict that, that's the goal of this code here. Okay, so a few things that Eric mentioned here, I will quickly point out that you can import reticulate library here. This is important if you want to do import some Python libraries or do some Python code here, include some Python code here as well. But we have it here so that we can include the SageMaker Python SDK and AWS SDK for Python. So these are two important packages that provide you additional capabilities of running stuff and doing distributed computing, for example, on SageMaker, on AWS SageMaker infrastructure. But you don't have to include this library. You can just use, if you're doing analytics or using open source packages, you can just continue using that without worrying about any SageMaker libraries or reticulate at all. But this example that I'm going to show specifically uses some AWS capabilities that I'm going to show. So then we go through the regular loading up the data set and displaying the data set, doing some feature engineering. So I will get to the most important part here, which is actually how to run an AutoML job. So we do it using SageMaker Autopilot. So you can call it from this RStudio on SageMaker. This is that additional capability that in addition to several other capabilities that SageMaker provides when you're using RStudio on SageMaker. So here you can see that we are specifying some number of candidates. These are the different candidates that your AutoML job is going to run on its own. So you can do that in RStudio on SageMaker, that okay, you have some data set, you want to do some automated feature engineering on it, some exploratory analysis that you want SageMaker to do in an automated fashion, and then try different algorithms from its library of algorithms to see which model fits the best and what results you get. So this is what we are telling here. You can see with just one API call here, you can start that job. You can specify how many candidates you want to try, and you also have to specify what type of compute you are choosing. In Autopilot, actually, you don't have to specify that, but if you're not using Autopilot, then you can, if you're building your own model, then you can specify what type of instance to use. So by instance, I mean that when you start these model training jobs or data processing jobs, you are not using that compute which you are running your session on, so that you can pick up a very basic instance to save on cost when you are running this session on, and then start those processing or training machine learning jobs on temporary instances, which are completely managed by AWS. So those instances start on their own. They run your code, your scripts for whether for feature engineering, analytics, data processing, or model training, and then those instances are automatically released, so you don't incur additional cost as soon as your computation is done, and then you can get the results back in your notebook here on or Amazon simple storage service buckets, where you can later on go and look at those results too. So with this one API call of fitting the model, this job is going to start. You can see that I have specified here the number of candidates at 20. So it's going to run 20 training jobs in parallel to fit various machine learning models, carrying out various feature engineering steps on the data set, so that you get all the results of all the model back, and then you can see which model performs well. So you can use it as is, or you can then later on manually take steps to modify it, improve further if the performance, if you want to further improve the performance or add additional steps to it. Okay, so if we go down here, here we are basically showing what are our top candidates and how they perform. Here it's a classification problem. So our metric is that we have picked is the F1 score. So this is the objective metric value it's showing for the best model, and then it is showing for 4 additional models. So I'm displaying 5 models here. You can see that it varies from 0.64 to 0.56. So you have some variation here. If you run additional jobs, then maybe you get better results, or you can use this as a starting point to further improve with feature engineering steps and other models on your data set. And finally, we are doing some, we are taking the best model from here and then running batch inference on our test data set. And you can, here we have to specify the type of instance, depending on data type and data size, how big your data is. We can pick different compute power here and then start the job. This job takes a few minutes, a couple of minutes to run, and then you get the results back. And finally, you can do analytics on it like you're used to. For example, in this code here, what I am displaying is some metrics here, such as confusion metrics. This is again using the base R or dplyr packages, showing some metrics here. These are all the packages that you are familiar with and use within R. So you can use all those open source packages in RStudio on SageMaker without having to configure any additional thing. So you see here the performance of the model here in terms of confusion metrics and some other metrics here. And finally, plotting ROC curve, receiver operating characteristic curve here, just to show you that just like you carry out your machine learning tasks in the open source version of RStudio, you can do the same stuff here in RStudio on SageMaker, as well as it provides you with some additional capabilities. So we ran those model training jobs, the AutoML jobs on RStudio on SageMaker. So do we have visibility on what it actually did, and where are the results and how it performed? So yes, we do. So you can go in this another tool by AWS is called SageMaker Studio. It's free to use, and unless you are running some computation on it, which we are not in this case, we are using it just to display our results. So here, when you come in SageMaker Studio, you can all this is present in documentation on our website, but you can come here in the experiments and trials, and then look at the AutoML job that you did. So what I was showing there earlier was 5 top candidates, but here in this nice user interface, you can see all the different top 20 models that this AutoML job tried, autopilot job tried, and you can see different performance metrics as well, like accuracy, AC, F1, all these on validation data set. And you can see here that we have this best model here outlined as well, and you can see that the algorithm that won in this case, along with the other feature engineering steps, is the multi-layered perceptron. Just pointing a few additional things here on what all these tools are there to make a data scientist life easier. That okay, they don't have to spend too much time in setting up the experiments, running the experiments. Maybe have some good AutoML job, just like you run your code in R with one simple API call. You can start these jobs and then get some good results or baseline results that you can start working with. So several times as data scientists, we have to do exploratory analysis as well, but this autopilot with RStudio on SageMaker does it a lot of steps for yourself, and then it creates itself, and then it creates this nice notebook here. This is automatically generated that you can access from SageMaker Studio again for no additional cost, and then you can look at what steps it carried out in terms of exploratory analysis, like distributions, plotting distributions, looking at feature importance and correlation plots, and several other features here, such as table summaries, summary statistics, etc. And in addition, to know what exactly this AutoML job is doing, you can click on this candidate generation notebook, and here you can go down and see what different steps are. So it shows you different steps here. For example, in the first candidate here, out of the 20 candidates, it's running an XGBoost model and doing these feature engineering steps, like it's imputing some LAN values, it's doing some one-hot encoding, it's doing some scaling and normalization, and then it's giving you a configuration code here for informing us that what type of compute it used to run this. And all these steps are also written automatically in a notebook format in our simple storage service bucket, which you specify in RStudio and SageMaker when you are running this specific job. So you can go in there and later on look at the code. Though that code is not in R, it's in Python. But if you want to take it and modify it or run some additional steps, you can still do it. So that's all for me today. So I think we have a couple of minutes for questions. Thank you all very much.
Thanks for the live demo. Always a white knuckle experience. Tension up on that. Just kind of a question I had in context to SageMaker. What do you think about containerization in general for something like an Amazon EKS service with the functionality of Job Launcher with RStudio as an IDE versus directly integrating with something like SageMaker this way? Which do you think is, given that this environment's very highly regulated, what do you think about the strategies between those? And are there services or ways to basically, this might be a deep question, how services to enable containerization to maintain a state for SageMaker that people can say, the state of SageMaker? Any thoughts on that?
I can take a stab at the question. I think to the extent that SageMaker Studio in general provides the tools that you can have the flexibility of customizing your images. We call it images, but you can build the image from a specific container and Docker, using Docker files to customize the container that you want to ship, and you build it in ECR for a specific deployment, and you have that flexibility from, and you have the ability to be as detailed as possible to make sure that you're working within the boundaries of the regulation that you're under. I think the tool has provides the ability for users to work within quite regulated environments. Also, SageMaker Studio in general has followed all the compliance and regulations that healthcare life sciences spaces have. So we do provide all the tools that you need to work on that space. I don't know if, Farooq, you have anything else to add to that point.
No, I think you covered it quite well. Thank you, Eric.
Okay. Thanks again, Eric. That was a great presentation. Again, thank you for the live demo.